At some point in your life, someone kind got crushed by someone ruthless, and you watched it happen. And some part of you already knew the world doesn't work the way we were told. We were taught that good things come to good people, that honesty wins, that if you just work hard, stay humble, and treat others right, life will meet you halfway. But then reality showed up. And reality doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't reward your patience, or your kindness, or how much you deserve something. It moves toward whoever understands its actual rules, and away from everyone who's still playing by the ones they were taught as children. 7 of history's sharpest minds saw this truth clearly. Not one of them flinched from it. And what they left behind wasn't just philosophy. It was a map. Don't skip any part of this video. What's coming will change how you see everything. Justice is just another word for power. Justice is nothing other than the advantage of the stronger. Most people hear that and feel uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is exactly the point. Thrasymachus wasn't a villain. He was just honest, in a room full of people pretending otherwise. While Socrates and his circle debated the beauty of justice and morality, Thrasymachus stood up and said what everyone was quietly thinking but nobody dared speak. Justice isn't some divine principle floating above human affairs. It's a tool, and it belongs to whoever holds the power to define it. Think about that for a moment. Who writes the laws? The strong. Who enforces them? The strong. Who decides what's fair, what's criminal, what's acceptable? Always the strong. The weak don't get to define justice. They get to live inside whatever definition the powerful have already decided on. And most of the time, they call that definition fair because they were never taught to question who built it. Thrasymachus saw society not as a moral system but as a power system, wearing the costume of morality. The rules exist to maintain order for those at the top and compliance from everyone below. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. The person who understands this doesn't become cruel, they become awake. They stop expecting the system to protect them and start understanding that the only real protection has always been power itself. The art of winning before the fight begins. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Sun Tzu never glorified violence. That's what most people get wrong about him. He didn't write a manual for brutes. He wrote a manual for thinkers. People who understood that the real battle happens long before anyone throws a punch. The art of war is almost 2,500 years old. And it's still being read by military generals, corporate executives, and anyone who has ever had to navigate a world that doesn't always fight fair. That longevity isn't an accident. What Sun Tzu understood, with a precision that still feels unsettling, is that information, positioning, and deception are more powerful than raw strength. The weak fight with force because they have nothing else. The strong fight with strategy, and by the time the weak realize what's happening, the outcome is already decided. Sun Tzu's darkest truth isn't about war, it's about preparation. The person who loses was already losing before the conflict began, they just didn't know it yet. Winning starts in the mind, long before it shows up anywhere else. Appear virtuous, be strategic. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Machiavelli didn't invent ruthlessness, he just refused to pretend it didn't exist. While every political thinker of his era was busy describing how rulers should behave in an ideal world, Machiavelli looked at how they actually behaved in the real one. And what he saw wasn't pretty, but it was honest. Power, he concluded, has almost nothing to do with genuine virtue. It has everything to do with the appearance of virtue. A ruler who is truly good in a world of ruthless competitors will be destroyed by those competitors. But a ruler who appears good, while thinking strategically beneath the surface, will survive and possibly thrive. This disturbs people. It should, because it means the world doesn't necessarily elevate the most deserving. It elevates the most calculated. Look at any organization, any social circle, any competitive environment. The person at the top isn't always the most talented or the most honest. They're almost always the most politically aware, the most controlled, the most capable of managing perception while executing strategy underneath it. Machiavelli's real lesson wasn't about cruelty, it was about awareness. Stop seeing the world as it should be. Start operating in the world as it actually is. The gap between those two things, that's exactly where weak people get swallowed alive. Without power, there is only chaos. The condition of man is a condition of war, of everyone against everyone. Thomas Hobbes looked at human nature and didn't look away. Where others saw potential for cooperation and goodness, Hobbes saw something rawer, something most people spend their entire lives trying not to see in themselves. Left without structure, without authority, without power holding everything in place, human beings don't naturally become peaceful. They compete, they position, and the ones who survive that environment aren't the kindest, they're the most prepared. Hobbes called the natural state of humanity, without order, a life that is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Harsh words, but look around at any environment where authority collapses. Look at what surfaces almost immediately. He wasn't wrong. What Hobbes understood that most people refuse to accept is that civilization itself is built on power, not goodness, not shared values, power. The social contract exists not because people are naturally cooperative, but because someone, somewhere, had enough force to make cooperation the safer option. In everyday life, this plays out quietly. Every office, every group, every relationship has an invisible power structure. Most people pretend it isn't there. A few understand it completely. The ones who pretend get managed. The ones who understand do the managing. Hobbes didn't write a warning, he wrote a map. The question is whether you're willing to read it honestly. The will to power is all that remains. What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself in man. Nietzsche is probably the most misunderstood thinker on this entire list. Most people encounter his ideas secondhand, stripped of context, weaponized by people who missed the point entirely. But read him directly, and something uncomfortable happens. He starts to make sense. Nietzsche's central argument wasn't that strong people should crush weak ones. It was something far more personal and far more confronting. He believed that most people, rather than pursuing genuine strength, spend their lives resenting those who have it. They build moral systems not out of genuine goodness, but out of a deep, unspoken desire to limit others who are more capable than them. He called this slave morality, the morality of the weak, designed not to elevate, but to constrain. The alternative wasn't cruelty, it was self-mastery. The will to power, in Nietzsche's truest sense, wasn't about dominating others. It was about becoming so fully and completely yourself that external opinion stopped carrying weight. Most people never get there. They remain in reaction to what others think, what others allow, what others define as acceptable. Nietzsche's challenge was simple and brutal at the same time. Stop waiting for permission. Stop building your identity around resentment. Create yourself, deliberately, completely, without apology. That, he believed, was the only real power a person could ever own. War is just politics with blood. War is the continuation of politics by other means. Clausewitz wrote about war, but if you read him carefully, really carefully, you realize he was writing about every form of human conflict, every negotiation, every competition, every struggle for position, resource, and survival. He spent his entire career studying why armies won and lost, and what he found wasn't about weapons or numbers or geography. It was about will. The side that wins, he concluded, is almost never the side with more resources. It's the side with stronger conviction. The side that wants it more and refuses to stop wanting it when things get painful. That idea translates directly into modern life in ways most people feel but never articulate. Think about two people in conflict, a negotiation, a dispute, a competition for the same opportunity. On paper, they might look equal. Same skills, same resources, similar starting points. But one of them is willing to absorb more discomfort. One of them will hold their position longer. One of them, when it gets genuinely hard, simply refuses to fold. That person wins, almost every time. Clausewitz understood that conflict, at its deepest level, is a test of will disguised as a test of capability. The capable person who breaks under pressure loses to the less capable person who doesn't. Weakness, in Clausewitz's world, isn't a lack of skill, it's a lack of conviction. And conviction, unlike talent, is entirely a choice. Power has rules. Learn them or lose. Never assume that the person you are dealing with is weaker or less important than you are. Robert Greene didn't discover anything new. That's actually what makes him so valuable. He spent years studying history's most powerful figures, their victories, their collapses, their strategies, their mistakes. And then he did something none of the other thinkers on this list quite did. He organized everything into a single, readable, brutally honest framework for how power actually operates in the modern world. The 48 Laws of Power isn't a comfortable book. It's not supposed to be. It holds up a mirror to human behavior, the manipulation, the positioning, the image crafting, the strategic silences, and refuses to look away from what it sees. Most people who read it get uncomfortable because they recognize the behavior, not just in powerful people they've observed, but in themselves, in moments they'd rather not examine too closely. Greene's core argument is simple and merciless. Power follows patterns. Those patterns have been consistent across centuries, cultures, and contexts. The people who study those patterns gain an enormous advantage over everyone who pretends the patterns don't exist. Ignorance of the rules doesn't protect you from the game, it just makes you easier to play. The weak don't lose because the world is unfair. They lose because they never learned what they were actually walking into. Greene just had the honesty to write it all down. 7 minds, separated by centuries, different languages, different cultures, different worlds entirely. But every single one of them arrived at the same uncomfortable place. The world does not move toward goodness. It moves toward strength, strategy, and the unshakable will to understand the game being played around you. That's not a reason to become cruel. It's a reason to become awake. The weak don't lose because they're bad people. They lose because they're playing a game they were never taught the rules of, while everyone around them already knows every move. Now, here's what I want from you. Go to the comments right now. Out of these 7 men, these 7 brutal truths, which one are you actually living without realizing it? Not which one you admire. Which one describes you right now, today, in your real life? Write that down. One honest sentence. Because 100 different people will read 100 different answers, and every single one will walk away knowing something they didn't when they clicked on this video. That's not a comment section. That's a classroom. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to wake up, and subscribe, because what's coming next goes even deeper than this.